76% of black voters think we should show an ID to vote. 80% of Hispanic voters, 83% of the American people. Are you saying that black voters
the
are too dumb to know what's good for them? I mean, it sounds pretty condescending to me.
The SAVE Act is not
three-quarters of black voters
who
want voter ID.
But to be clear, the SAVE Act is not just about ideas. The SAVE Act is about
proof
of citizenship.
So what?
It doesn't. I actually.
It also makes it very hard for married women who.
I hear these arguments. I've heard Democrats all week long.
No, please don't. No. You listen.
There's a deflection from talking about Donald Trump's racism.
I'm actually
right there.
You should be thinking about your constituents or your.
Yeah, I think they're smart enough to figure out how to register to vote. Abby.
Hold on.
Let's just be honest for a second. Did you hear what he just tried to do? He didn't debate her argument. He didn't respond to the policy. He tried to trap her. He tried to twist her words into something offensive so he could dodge the substance. And Abby wasn't having it. Not today. This wasn't a policy discussion, this was a setup, and it completely backfired. If you appreciate when politicians actually get challenged instead of steamrolled, drop a comment below because this is where it gets even more revealing.
Nobody has done more for the black community than Donald Trump. I am the least racist person. The least racist person that you've ever seen. I'm the least racist person in this room. With the exception of Abraham Lincoln, possible exception, but the exception of Abraham Lincoln, nobody has done what I've done. Look at my African American over here.
Tonight, just days after posting and then deleting a racist video depicting the Obamas as apes, which he has still not apologized for, Donald Trump took to social media to assure Americans he has black friends. On Truth Social, he posted videos of himself alongside Mike Tyson, Oprah Winfrey, Michael Jackson, among other celebrities. Here is just one of those posts. That settles it then. Nothing more to say here.
Most of those pictures are from the 80s?
A lot of black friends.
People. I mean, Michael Jackson is in there.
I have met Donald Trump only one time at a cocktail party. He was coming to speak to the people I was talking to. Turned around, he's there, he introduces himself. The first and only thing he said, I don't think he knew who I was at the time. Black people love me. That's what he's literally. He goes into this speech about he is the most liked person among black people. Everywhere he goes, black people are trying to convince him to run for office. And the only names he gave me were the names of celebrities. I went back to the Times and wrote about it immediately because what are you talking about? Who are you talking to?
Okay, Charles, thank you for your service.
What are you talking about?
Can I just make a tiny counterpoint to that, which is there was a time when Donald Trump, back in the 80s, hung around with Mike Tyson. He hung around with Don King.
Yeah, this is
hold on.
This is the same decade when he was calling for
let me just finish. Hold on. And he was
the 90s.
Yes. In all these rap songs. I mean, he was, because he was this cultural figure who was perceived as rich and successful. There was like a cultural cachet there, which is not the same thing as him
trying to become president.
Being exonerated from the racist video and all the other stuff.
Well, let's flash you up from the bottom.
But I will say,
that's what it was. Flash you up from the bottom.
Flash you from the bottom. During Black History Month, we're having this conversation, which is actually quite ironic. But you raise a good point. It was fine when he was over there just being a curator of culture, and it was kind of cool, whatever, to have him in your rap video. But a lot of people in New York, including somebody who's in that video, like Reverend Al Sharpton, they constantly talk about the lawsuits against him and his housing lawsuits, what happened with the Central Park Five. I want to be very about what's happening right now. He disinvited the only black governor from the governor's meeting in the White House. He is actually championing a bill that actually would take voting rights away from a lot of black people in this country, all during Black History Month, and then called the president, the first black president, and the first lady monkeys and apes in this during this month. So this doesn't absolve Donald Trump of his racism. We all know exactly who he is. The reality is the conversation and the question should be, why do people continue to support him if they don't want us to believe they are okay with racism?
Wait, what voting rights is he taking away from black voters?
Oh, if we look
What,
at
the SAVE Act?
the SAVE Act, that's exactly what we're talking about.
How?
That is
How?
actually going to continue to
How?
disenfranchise
How?
overwhelmingly a lot of people of color.
How?
There are so many civil rights organizations that have run the data. If we look at the way that it is going to disenfranchise black voters, it's the same reason why Chuck Schumer called
How?
it Jim Crow 2.0.
So,
this is the same president.
how?
If we want to
You
continue...
haven't said how yet.
I am talking about it. It's
How?
the way that you're putting new poll taxes on this when you're making
Poll
people
taxes?
have... That's what we can call them now. It's kind of an idiom, right? If you want to say that people have to prove that they are citizens, that they have to prove with a voter ID, the reality is you're layering what is a constitutional right for the American people and making it harder for people to vote in this country, and it's going to disenfranchise black voters.
Notice the pattern. First it's, I have black friends. Then it's, show me exactly how this hurts anyone. And when she explains it, suddenly it becomes, are you calling voters dumb? That's not debate. That's deflection. That's what you do when the facts aren't on your side. You pivot. You provoke. You try to manufacture outrage so nobody focuses on the actual policy. And Abby keeps dragging it back to substance. Documentation barriers, access issues, historical precedent. That's the part they don't want to argue because that's the uncomfortable part.
You're making all these claims. You've yet to lay out how it's hurting anyone, but 76% of black voters think we should show an ID to vote. 80% of Hispanic voters, 83% of the American people. Are you saying that black voters
The
are
SAVE
too
Act
dumb to
isn't
know
just,
what's good for them? I
the
mean, it
SAVE Act
sounds
isn't
pretty,
just about.
it sounds pretty condescending
Just
to
to be
me.
clear, the
That's
SAVE
not
Act
what
is
I said.
not
Three-quarters
just
of
about
black voters
IDs.
That is not
who want
right.
voter ID.
But
To
that's
be
not,
clear, the SAVE Act is
you're
not
putting
just
words in my
about
mouth.
ideas. The SAVE Act is about
So what?
proof of citizenship.
So what?
So it doesn't. I actually.
It also makes it very hard for married
about
women who've
this.
changed
I was
their
just going to
last
say,
name.
we
This is
talked
all
about
young
this
people,
before.
by the way.
poor
It's
voters.
not. It actually, there's an argument to be made that red state voters, women, poor white voters could be just as.
I know. You think they're dumb too, don't you?
Young
I mean, that's
voters.
the thing.
Nobody
I hear these,
thinks they're dumb.
arguments. I've
Scott,
heard
hold on,
Democrats all
hold on,
week long.
Scott.
No,
Please don't. No. You listen.
There's a deflection from talking about Donald Trump's racism
I'm actually
right there.
You should be thinking about your constituents or your
Yeah, I think
your,
they're smart
your
enough to figure out how to
colleagues in
register to vote,
Kentucky.
Abby.
Hold on. Most Americans don't have a passport. Many Americans don't have access to their birth certificate. Many women, a majority of women who change their names for marriage
listen,
have to provide additional proof
all
that
week
they've
long,
changed their
all
legal
week long,
names in
I have
order to
heard-
register to vote.
I have heard
so
Democrats
Scott, why
make
don't
these
you
same
actually
arguments.
respond
Right.
to the substance of what I'm saying?
I am, and the
as
substance
opposed
is
to
this.
making
You're
this about
saying-
something that it's not.
You're saying,
it's not just
you're
about
saying
voter ID.
married
It's
women,
also about
black
who has
voters,
access
and rural people
to-
are too stupid to figure out how to
Excuse
register to
me?
No,
vote.
that's
No,
not.
that is not
that's
what
so
Democrats have been
offensive.
making
That
this
is
argument all
so
along. It's
offensive.
crazy.
That
That
is
is
not
so
what you
offensive.
Here's what's really happening. When someone says, this policy could disproportionately impact communities of color, and the response is, so you think they're dumb, that's not misunderstanding. That's strategy. It's designed to flip the moral burden. It's designed to make the person raising civil rights concerns look elitist instead of concerned. And this isn't new. Every single time voting restrictions are debated, the conversation magically shifts from impact to insult. Instead of discussing access to passports, birth certificates, name changes, or elderly documentation gaps, the argument becomes about pride, about intelligence, about faith in America. But voting rights have never been about intelligence. They've always been about access. Jim Crow laws weren't about intelligence, they were about barriers. Poll taxes weren't about intelligence, they were about barriers. Literacy tests weren't about intelligence. They were about barriers. And Abby did something crucial here. She didn't accept the reframing. She didn't allow the conversation to be dragged into an emotional trap. She kept saying one word over and over again, access. Access to documentation. Access to proof. Access to rights. That's discipline. Because once you let the debate turn into, are voters dumb, you've already lost the policy conversation. And that's exactly what that tactic is designed to do.
Let me offer the
can't
proof.
figure out how
Let
to
me
vote?
offer.
Scott,
Let me offer the
I'm
proof.
Are you saying they can't
This
figure
is
out how to
the
vote?
exact same
I'm just saying
argument.
it is a fact that a majority of Americans do not have passports. Many Americans, including white people, okay, do not have their original birth certificate or access
You didn't say
to
what you
it.
said. Rural.
I
white
would
people,
love
what
to
you
offer
said.
the proof on this.
Yeah, because that is also relevant. It doesn't matter to me where people
I guess
live.
I have a little more faith in
Do they have
rural
access?
America and married women than you do.
Look, I don't
You're
know
saying
why.
they can't
I
figure
don't
it
know
out.
why you think
What
why
is
you're
going
making
on
this
here?
about whether you're smart or not.
You're
Access
saying that they can't
to-
vote, that they
access to
can't figure out how to
Scott,
document to register
Scott,
to vote?
Access to documentation of proof of where you were born or proof of citizenship is an additional thing that people
Because
will
at
have
one
to
point,
do.
black
such a
people
reason.
actually
She
weren't even
describes it as a
allowed
barrier
to
to
get
vote.
It's a barrier.
It is a barrier.
This
Do you
is
have- Scott, do you have your
exactly.
original birth certificate?
Yes.
Okay.
But at
This
one
is-
point, black
does
people were not
everybody
even
that
allowed
you know
to get
have their
birth
original
certificates
birth
in this country.
certificate?
Everybody that I know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean,
I know where mine is, and I know where my kids are.
There are elderly people in this country who are 80 years old, and they haven't seen their original birth certificate in decades. They would need to
This is-
provide
this is
proof of
fear-mongering.
citizenship in
This
It
order
is not
to
fear-mongering at
vote.
all. It's not
That's
fear-mongering at
That's
all.
just a reality.
It's not fear-mongering
And
at all.
listen,
Jim Crow
here's how-
2.0.
Scott,
They say that about the Georgia
Here's
law,
how-
and what happened? Voter participation
Scott,
went
The
up.
fact
in
that you
Georgia.
won't
Here's
answer
how
why you still
policy-
support
hold on.
a
Here's
racist
how
president
policy is
is
supposed to
actually
work in this country.
the problem.
And by the
You
way,
have a proposal, you look at the impacts of it, and you decide whether it's the right thing or the wrong thing to do. I think it is perfectly fair, whether you think that it disproportionately affects people of color or not, to ask the question, will a majority of Americans who want to be able to vote be able to access the documents that they would need
Yes, I
in
think
order
yes.
to prove
Clearly,
But
citizenship?
yes.
Abby, you're asking
That's
the
your
underlying
view, but I'm
question,
saying
which is
people have
impact.
raised questions about that.
The reason that it works this way is impact. You mentioned Jim Crow 2.0.
No, I didn't.
What
Schumer,
you,
that's
what
what
you
Schumer
just
called
said, the words Jim Crow 2.0, so I'm going to put it right here at the moment. And that is exactly the way that Jim Crow 1.0 was born. They took laws.
Democrats were wily back
yeah,
then.
I will finish. They took laws that were operational in the North, and they said these work on by the in the letter, but we're going to disrupt the spirit. They're going to take
Okay, we
these
gotta go.
laws
We really-
and use them on black people in the South
All right.
to disenfranchise them, and that was the effect.
Everyone.
Let's zoom out. This wasn't just a loud TV argument. This was a microcosm of how modern political messaging works. You introduce a policy that sounds simple on the surface, prove citizenship. Who could be against that? Then when someone raises real-world data about how documentation access varies across demographics, you accuse them of insulting voters. It's clever, it's aggressive, and it's effective if nobody pushes back. But Abby pushed back. She didn't call voters dumb. She didn't say rural Americans are incapable. She didn't insult married women. She said something very specific. When you layer additional documentation requirements onto a constitutional right, the impact matters. And historically, impact has never been neutral in this country. And here's the uncomfortable truth. If 80% of Americans support something, that doesn't automatically mean it's harmless. Majorities have supported bad policy before. The real question isn't, do people like it? The real question is, who does it affect and how? That's the conversation that kept trying to get buried under outrage. You can disagree with her analysis, that's fair. But pretending she called voters dumb, that's not honest. That's spin. And whether you lean left, right, or somewhere in between, you should be able to recognize when a debate tactic is being used to derail substance. Because once substance disappears, all you're left with is noise. And we've got enough noise already. What did you think of that exchange? Was Scott Jennings exposing hypocrisy or trying to manufacture it? And did Abby handle it the right way? Drop your thoughts below. I genuinely want to know where you land on this one.